Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to England once again, and we're going to have a look at yet another beer from a brewery that you've seen me review a good number of things from before. And this is going to be my third review from them in fairly quick succession actually, and I'm very curious to see how this one turns out. So for this review then we are going to head back to Manchester and we're having a look at yet another beer from Cloudwater Brewing Company. So this one is simply called Double IPA, DIPA, or whatever you want to call it, but this one comes in at 8% ABV and it's a New England style or hazy style double IPA, however you want to term it. But this is another member of Cloudwater's newish core range that they seem to have. The last two videos that I've done from Cloudwater as well were also members of that range. So the last one that you would have seen was the West Coast IPA, which was very kindly given to me by Adam from Mersey Beers. Do make sure you check out his channel, and a huge thank you to him again for making that review possible. And then before that we had one that was just called IPA, and that was their kind of hazy New England IPA, and I believe that was the very first beer that they released over here through Systembolaget in Sweden. And we have been getting more and more English beers over here over the last while actually, so long may that continue. And it is quite nice to see that Cloudwater are getting out there a little bit more across the continent, because they've been very highly regarded for quite a long time actually. They really made their name when it came to the kind of hazy New England IPAs actually. So yeah, if you get the chance to try some of these beers, this is one of the English brews that I would highly recommend that you have a go at. And do make sure you check out my friends over in the English beer tubing scene as well. These guys review quite a lot of things from Cloudwater. You've got Christoph at Ale Degustations, you've got Peter the Clueless Drinker, Rob at Hop Scene, Stuart Picard, Ginger Ale Ale Trail, Jaco at Jaco Beers, Craig at Kent Beer Reviews, you've got Greg, Bullman's Beer Reviews, and you've got Harry over at Blue Nose Beer Reviews. There's lots of others out there these days as well that are starting up, that I've just started up. And we also have David Dowling from Urban Viking. He's just getting restarted on his channel actually, which is quite exciting. So do make sure you go and check out some of these guys. And of course, like I say, Adam from Mersey Beers, who gave me the other one, he's got a really nice kind of live stream, beer themed live stream style channel actually. Make sure you check out him as well. They review the English beers a lot more regularly than I do. But yeah, definitely cool to try another member of Cloudwater's new core range that they have. And I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So let's see how we get on. As always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Cloudwater Brewing Company before, and you will no doubt see more from these guys at some point in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, over, well, at least regularly over the next little while. And do please get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Cloudwater Brewing Company this time, on to my brewery notes then. So Cloudwater Brewing Company, as I've told you before, were founded in early 2015 by Paul Jones and James Campbell after the latter left Marble Brewing Company, which is a very well established craft brewery in Manchester actually, and I've been to their bar and you will see one of their beers reviewed a little bit later. This month actually, and that was very kindly given to me by Adam that I mentioned earlier. But in the early days, Paul and James were joined by Al Wall and Will France, who have a wealth of experience in home brewing, professional brewing, and also in bar management as well. But the company in the early days leased an archway, which allowed them to age and sour a lot of their beers with quite high capacity. I think they had room for about 200 barrels at a time in the beginning. But they began brewing in March of 2015 in Manchester, and then they officially opened their brew pub the following month in April. They started off with a 2,400 litre brew kit, but they have expanded that considerably over the last years. I think they doubled the capacity and then even tripled it beyond that. But they've also more recently been planning to move to a new and bigger brewery actually, and they're currently looking for a larger premises for that. So you can actually go to the original brewery, the Archway, and drink the beers from the little brew pub that they have, and you can also go to the Barrel store as well, where they have a little bar, which is quite nice. We went there when we were in Manchester back in 2017, I want to say, when Paul from PA Brew News came over to England actually. So yeah, That was pretty fun, to be honest. But currently these guys have the Unit 9 tap room in Manchester, which I believe is the original brewery, if I'm remembering right. But they also have the 73 Enid Street tap room down in London as well. So if you find yourself down there, you can go and check out the Cloudwater bar. But in early 2018, these guys were ranked as the second best brewery in the world by Rate Beer, which is a pretty damn good achievement for an English brewery, because Rate Beer, of course, is quite American dominated in fairness, and they've been consistently ranked amongst the best breweries in the world by various different kind of peer reviewing sites. The current head brewer is Al Wall, and as of September 2020 these guys have produced around 150 different kinds of beer. So yeah, very, very well respected English brewery, these guys. They really made their name when it comes to the kind of hazy New England IPAs. For the first years actually, maybe for the first 2 or 3 years, it was almost impossible to get a different style of beer from these guys. Pretty much all they were brewing were hazy, you know, hazy pale ales, hazy New England IPAs, these kind of things actually. They had the V series double IPAs for a long time actually, and if you go and watch some of Craig at Kent Beer Reviews, if you go and watch some of his old videos, you can see he has the version 1 all the way to 13 or 14, I forget exactly where it ended, but they were releasing a new IPA every month under this thing. But recently they have kind of been releasing a few different styles. Of course, they've got West Coast IPAs now, they've got a few Imperial Stouts, I think they've released some lagers and things like that, as well as a few other German styles of beer. So it is nice to see them starting to try different styles, and of course a recent development from these guys within the last 6 months maybe, I think since the start of 2020, they have got a core range of beers now, and I think that's quite nice because, you know, these guys, it was pretty much constantly new releases with them, and it was very hard to keep up with what they were doing actually. So I think the fact that they now have a core range of beers is pretty nice actually. So yeah, they've got the West Coast IPA, the IPA, I think there's a Pale Ale as well, then there's this one, but this is the third one from their new core range that I'm reviewing for you here on the channel. I need to have a look at their website and see what the other ones are, but hopefully we get a few more of them over here in Sweden. I'd love to try a black IPA from Cloudwater and see how that turns out. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Cloudwater Brewing Company for the moment. If you want to learn more about this brewery, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then, on to the actual tasting part of the video. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork quickly on this one before we open it up. The artwork on this can of course is very similar to what we had with the regular IPA that we saw a while back. That was the kind of 6%, the very first one that they released here in over in Sweden. But yeah, there you can see the Cloudwater Brewing Company symbol there. Double IPA at the bottom. They're saying here this one is big and juicy, a bold and intense strong beer showcasing our favourite blend of hops and yeast. 8% New England double. It says on the back here, the double IPA is a style we've become synonymous with. While its roots stretch back to a full team West Coast beer a full team West Coast beer tasting in September 2015 and our scene-changing V series throughout 2015 to 16, it's significantly different to the double IPAs that originally inspired us and acts as an ever-evolving representation of a hazy, soft double IPA. So I guess that means they will be tweaking the recipe of this one as we go on. It does give you a few little tasting notes and things on the side here, but we will ignore them because that is the whole point of me doing this video for you. But yeah, this one I think should be really quite nice. So yeah, I've heard very good things about this. On Untappd it has a rating of 4.22, which is pretty damn impressive actually. But a 440ml can, this one. I think I paid 50 Swedish kroners for this, which is about £4, probably about £4.50 maximum, about €5 or something for this can. So for an 8% double IPA, that's pretty good. I think that's probably cheaper than what you would pay in England for this, to be honest with you. I'm not sure what the price in England is, but yeah, Systembolaget does keep the prices of our beers lower, and usually you pay about 10 kroners more for the import beers. So yeah, let's get this guy out then and we'll get on with the tasting. I'm very curious to see what this has in store for us. I've had some really good experiences with Cloudwater in the past, so hopefully this turns out to be another really nice one actually. So yeah, as you can see with this beer, it's poured a lovely kind of if we shine the light through that, this is definitely one of the kind of deeper yellowy coloured beers that you're going to come across. If we compare this, as we always do, to the different fruit juices, I would say that this one looks like a very kind of deep mango-y juice actually. This one's got a very, very deep kind of yellow colour to it. You can see the head on this one is somewhere between 1/3 and maybe 1/2 of a head. That's fading away to just be a very thin kind of foamy layer on top of the beer though. And I would describe this head as being a little bit more kind of bumpy rather than anything. And I think the colour of it is a little bit more creamy than being kind of pure white. But there's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head. But as you can see, if I put my fingers behind this one is basically, you know, hazy as hell. It's very, very kind of soupy and gloopy, this one for me, but as I've told you in previous videos, as you go up the alcohol scale with these New England hazy type beers, you've got more oats, you've got more wheat in them, so they do get kind of progressively more hazy as you get higher and higher in alcohol actually. For me, I've always felt that 8% is the kind of maximum alcohol you can go to with these beers without having to add, you know, like a bit of caramel or something like that to them to kind of sweeten them up a little bit. So yeah, 8% I think is going to be a pretty good one with this. So I'm curious to see whether this one has a little bit of that kind of Werther's original sweetness that seems to have come into the style recently, or whether it is a more old school kind of bready, wheaty and kind of creamy type New England double actually. But in terms of appearance, it certainly does look the part. So let's have a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Really curious about this beer. Oh yeah, this one smells really quite classic actually. There's something very, very familiar about the hops in this beer. There's something telling me straight away that it might be a sort of Simcoe and Citra, maybe Simcoe Citra Mosaic. I think it's one of these kind of things in this one. It's just very, very familiar. Yeah, the aroma to this beer is absolutely lovely. But yeah, on the malty side of things then, we'll start with the malty side of the beer. So with this one, it is a little bit more of a kind of old school type maltiness that you have with this beer. It's quite how would we say, it's really got a lovely kind of smooth white bready character to it. You do get a little bit more of the bitey wheat towards the back of the nose, but you've got a nice kind of creamy oaty character with this one as well, which is really quite nice. So I do like how this I like how everything goes together with this beer. The malt base has a really nice kind of smoothness to it actually. So for me, it's a bit more old school, I would say. It doesn't really have too much of the sweetness that you're getting from some of the Swedish New England IPAs these days. This one's definitely more oaty and creamy. A little bit like the double Narangi actually that I had recently from OO Brewing. This one is a bit more like, you know, the Amazing Haze, the OO Narangi and stuff like this. So I think this is going to be a pretty damn solid New England double actually. So yeah, for me, this one, in terms of the old school New England spectrum, strange to say that because these styles do still seem as if they're quite new, but yeah, this one really leans a bit more towards the oaty side of things for me. This one's got a lovely oaty kind of creaminess to it. There is a wee touch of a kind of biscuity sweetness to the beer in fairness, but not too much. You get a nice bit of a kind of, you get a little touch of wheaty bitiness out of it, but you've got a really nice kind of smoothness to the beer as well actually. So I really like how everything goes together in the malty side of this beer. I think it fits together very, very well, but it comes across as very thick and creamy and more oaty leaning rather than anything else. So yeah, I really like how this one goes together actually in terms of its malt base. Definitely focus on that a little bit when you're looking at the aroma. So yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, for me, this one on the green side, it does have a nice little bit of floral aromaticity, and I do wonder, maybe there is a little bit of Columbus in this added into this one early on, because it does have a wee touch of a kind of spicy quality to it. But yeah, there is a nice little bit of that. But to me, really, this beer, in terms of the green side of things, it really leans towards that. It really leans towards that nice, light, kind of grassy side of the spectrum actually, and that's really attractive with this beer too. There's a wee tiny touch of earthiness in there, which makes me wonder, is there a bit of mosaic in this? But we'll talk about the fruity characters later. But yeah, nice little bit of lighter earthiness in there, some nice, slightly spicy notes to the floral aromaticity, but I really find that this one leans towards the grassy end of the spectrum when it comes to the green side of the hops, and that suits the kind of more creamy vibe that this beer has from the malt base actually. So, fruity side of things then, let's focus on that now. And as I said earlier, I really think that the the fruity side of this beer. It has something very familiar about it, I have to say. So yeah, fruity side of this beer is really nice. Straight away with this one, there's something that tells me there's Simcoe in this. It's got a lovely, very soft passion fruity note to it. And as I've told you before, you know, if you add Simcoe early in the boil, you will get quite a bit of spiciness out of it. But if you add it later in the boil and use it mainly as a flavouring hop rather than a bittering hop, it comes out, it gives you this lovely, very smooth passion fruity character, and you get that in abundance in this beer. The other thing that could be in here would maybe be a bit of Idaho 7. That's the other thing that might be in this one. So yeah, it's either Simcoe or Idaho 7 that's in this one, with the very soft tropical fruit characters. There's definitely a bit of mango in there, and I'm pretty sure there's Citra in this. I really think that this beer is Simcoe, Citra and a bit of Mosaic. There's just something really oddly familiar about this one. So yeah, you get that slightly stronger passion fruit to it, but also very smooth and quite creamy. You get some lovely mango-y notes out of it. Some of the soft, more tropical notes like papayas, a little bit of apricot. You're getting all of these kind of typical things out of this beer. And for me, there's also a touch of a kind of, there's a little touch of a slightly oily tangerine note towards the front of the nose as well, which makes me think Mosaic, along with the little bit of earthiness that the beer has too. So yeah, if I was betting with this one, it's either Simcoe or Idaho 7, Citra and a little bit of Mosaic. I think those are probably the hops, and I do think there might be a bit of Columbus added into this one early on to give it the bitterness. There's just something very, very familiar about this beer, and I think when it comes to it, you know, I always love playing Guess the Hops, but there are just things about this beer that come across as very familiar, to be honest with you. And I can understand that they would use hops like that for one of their core range beers, because you know, you want it to be recognisable, if you like. But yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck into it. I think this one comes across really nicely. Lovely and oaty and creamy, nice little bit of lighter grassness there, and it really leans more towards those softer tropical characters, but it has a wee bit of that oily orange from what I suspect is Mosaic as well. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. So this one is simply called Double IPA, DIPA, from Cloudwater Brewing Company in Manchester in England. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål. Yeah, that's a really nice beer. You don't expect, I mean, based on previous experiences, I didn't expect anything less of Cloudwater, to be quite honest with you. This is a lovely take on the double IPA. It's really nicely done. Yeah, this one I think really very, very nice. It's one of these ones, I mean, Cloudwater were the kind of pioneers of this style in England, I guess you could say, along with a couple of other breweries. I mean, Wylam were one of the early ones to do these kind of beers as well. Northern Monk, Magic Rock were also big when it came to the IPAs as well. But yeah, I think it was Cloudwater that were, you know, being really, really hyped when it came to these hazy type beers. And this one, you know, I guess this beer, it is supposed to kind of be basically, it's probably to English craft beer the same as, you know, like Amazing Haze or Narangi is to Swedish craft beer. It's supposed to be like a kind of staple beer, this one, and I think it does that job really well, actually. So yeah, it's another really, really nice example of the style. It's a very soft and very smooth and drinkable one, actually. It's actually stupidly drinkable for an 8%er. You know, I always think you should get a bit more booziness out of the double IPAs, but I think it works. In that sense, it works really quite well. Yeah. So it does get a thumbs up from me, this one. I like this. Big thumbs up to Cloudwater once again, and it's cool, as I say, that they've got a core range now where you can get the same beer regularly. This probably will be the only time I drink this beer, though. I don't really buy beer outside of the things that I review and have given to me. So yeah, this probably will be the only time that I drink this beer, but that's not. It's just mainly because, as I say, I review so much beer on the channel at the moment, so many things floating around there. But this is a lovely example of the style. If I was into sessioning beer, I would quite happily sip away on a few of these. Really nicely done. So yeah, in terms of the malty side of this beer, then it is kind of what I suspected it would be from the aroma. Straight away with this one, you get that lovely. You do get a bit of that pale malty quality just blanket in the middle of your tongue, but I think that the oats really just cover the middle third of your palate and the back third of your palate. It's got a lovely smoothness to it, this beer. On the back third of your tongue though, you do feel the wheat coming out of this one a little bit more, and I wouldn't say that the wheat is bitey in this. I'd say it's a little bit more almost, pardon me, kind of pungent in its flavour, but it's still, overall, the feel of this beer is it's a very smooth, kind of creamy leaning New England IPA. So I mean, I would definitely compare this to the Narangi from OO Brewing, and I would also compare it to some of the stuff that I've had from Treehouse over in the States before. It's really got that kind of smooth, oaty, creamy type vibe to it. So yeah, I like how this one goes together in that sense. So yeah, back third of the palate, you do get a little bit more of the pungency of the wheat coming out, a little bit of a kind of, it's almost a wee touch spicy actually, but at the same time it still retains that smoothness. But as you move into the middle third of your palate, you feel that the malty part of the beer just gets a little, it does get a wee touch thinner on the bready, kind of oaty side of things. And as you move further forward into the front half of that middle third of your palate, that's where you start to get the oats thickening up a little bit, which is quite nice. But behind it, you do get a little bit of that almost Werther's Originally type brown sugary quality that these New England IPAs can have. I really thought this one would be a little bit more biscuity, going by the aroma that we had, but this one does have a little bit more of that Werther's Originally type sweetness to it, and I didn't expect that from the aroma, as I said, but it works really nicely. It's not too strong as you'll get in as you can get in some cases, but it's just got a nice little subtlety. It just has a little bit of that kind of brown, that sort of brown sugary Werther's Originally type sweet to it, like a butter candy sort of thing. I do like that with this. So again, thumbs up to Cloudwater. There's not much more that you can really say about the malt base in this one, but it is just really nicely executed. It's quite straight shooting, but very nicely executed. So yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, let's focus on that. Back corners of the palate, there is a wee touch of earthiness to the beer. As you move further forward along the side of the palate, you do get more kind of floral aromaticity out of this one. It's not quite as spicy as I thought it was going to be. I thought that I really did think that there was Columbus in this from the aroma, and it does have a wee touch of that kind of spicy note to it, but nowhere near as kind of much as I thought it would have, to be honest. So I have to say I am surprised with that. I really am surprised with the kind of the level of bitterness that's in this beer. I did think it would be more. So yeah, I do like how that how all of that pieces together in this one. That's very, very nice. But on the as I say, when you come further forward with this one, it does have a wee bit of that. You do get a real aromatic kind of note on the front corners of the palate, but as you go round the front curve of the palate, it's just a little bit more kind of light and grassy, which I think was really quite nice. So on the front third of your tongue, that's where you get that nice oily, that sort of nice more oily bubble where the fruity, juicy esters just roll out of the beer. And as I've said multiple times in this review, there's something just dead familiar about this. If you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, you do get a slightly stronger kind of passion fruity note to it. I do think, I've got a feeling that there's Citra and Simcoe in this. The more pungent passion fruit notes, I think, they are, they'll come from a mixture of both the Simcoe and the Citra, I would think. But as you move further forward, that passion fruit very quickly changes to more of a, it really changes very quickly to more of a kind of mangoey, a sort of mangoey flavour, which I really like. Yeah, think it's definitely fair to say that about this one. It definitely gives you a little bit more of a sort of mangoey flavour, which is really nice. And then you start to get a few more of the kind of softer, like apricot-y, papaya type notes in this one. I think the mango actually does dominate, to be honest, on the tropical side of things. The mango is a little bit stronger in its flavour in this end, but as you move on to the very kind of front part of the palate, almost the very front tip of the tongue, there is a slightly more oily part of the beer, and it's a little bit more of a kind of tangerine orange that's in there, which I really quite like. So yeah, a little bit of that, which I suspect is coming from Mosaic actually, but the tropical flavours I would say do dominate, and it's the stronger passion fruit that's there, that comes out a little bit more into the aftertaste. I think the floral aromaticity and kind of spiciness out of this beer does come out a little bit more into the aftertaste as well, and the beer does have a little bit of a around the front edge of the tongue, the tip of your tongue does become a little bit more kind of almost, it does become a little bit more kind of citrusy and zesty in that sense too. So I quite like that side of this beer as well, actually. I do like that. It could be a little bit of Centennial in this as well, in fairness. That's another option, because you do get a little bit of a kind of lemony zesty quality on the very front edge of your tongue there as well. But yeah, behind that, as I say, a little bit of an oily kind of tangerine orangey note, which I suspect is Mosaic, and then there. So I think, I've got a feeling this one might be Columbus is the bittering hop, Citra and Simcoe, and a little bit Mosaic and Centennial. I think that's kind of what's going on in this one. So it's 5 hops, which, yeah, for a core range beer might be a little bit much, but I've got a feeling there's just certain things about this beer, like I say, that are very, very familiar, and Columbus and Centennial are quite popular hops to use in IPAs. You don't see as much Centennial now as you used to, but yeah, there's just something about the way that this beer develops. It really gets more floral and spicy and a bit more zesty on the front of the tongue as you drink more and more of it, and that really makes me think, yeah, Columbus and a bit of Centennial in this one actually, and I really like that about this beer. So thumbs up to Cloudwater for this. The fruitiness in this one is really a little bit more old school, but I really like it, and I think I can see why this beer is so highly rated. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, I think we've covered the flavour profile quite well. So mouthfeel wise, yeah, it's quite how do we say, it's quite it's kind of at the it's in the mid-bodied range of the spectrum, probably top end the mid-bodied. The carbonation is quite smooth. I would describe this beer as being quite creamy, to be honest with you. It's got a wee touch of an oily character to it, but I think overall it's quite a creamy mouthfeel. But the fruits do become more oily the further you go into the aftertaste. In terms of hoppy bitterness, to be honest, I'm tempted to say that this one is about 30 IBUs, which is quite standard for the New England type IPAs, but it does have a little bit of a it could well be about 40 IBUs. It could be a little bit stronger, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if it is, especially the way that it develops into the aftertaste. But yeah, lovely smooth and slightly creamy malt base to it, lovely juicy fruity notes, and then just a little bit of hoppy bitterness there underneath it. But yeah, beautiful double IPA this one, and I think it is very cool that we got this over here in Sweden. So yeah, nice, well done to Systembolaget for bringing this in, and I'm curious to see what other English beers we get over the next little while. And I've still got quite a few to review from Adam as well, actually, so you'll see those appearing over the next while, actually. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the double IPA from Cloudwater Brewing Company in Manchester, England, part of their new core range, and released as part of the Tilfällig assortment on the 29th of September 2020 through Systembolaget here in Sweden. Lovely beer this. If you get the chance to try it, I highly recommend that you do. The West Coast IPA and the regular IPA you will see from these guys fairly regularly as well. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Cloudwater Brewing Company. I'm sure we'll return to these guys at some point in the near future. And yeah, if you're interested in English craft beer, do make sure you go and check out my friends over in the English beer tubing scene. But thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, check out Cloudwater Brewing Company, and I'll catch you guys later. This one was the double IPA, an 8% New England hazy double IPA, however you want to call it, from Cloudwater Brewing Company in Manchester over in England. Slàinte, skål, cheers.